Hello, y'all again. The last segment we covered strictly the sun. Okay, that was, if you want to, it doesn't really matter whether you believe in the Book of Enoch or not. That's the course of the sun. It never changes. So now we're going to do the course of the moon. Okay, now the sun operates the day and the seasons. And there's nothing that anyone can do to change that. It's going to do that forever. Now, the moon is up there, and the moon, as we know, is for the Moed, the Moedim. All right? So, now I'm going to go with the way Troy Miller does it, not the world's last chance, but what Troy Miller does, and which makes more sense to me. And you have to make your own decision about how you want to read the moon. All right, but I'm going to explain the way I do it. And this is something that happens every month. The world cannot change it. There's no calendar on the wall that can tell you what it is or what it isn't. This happens every month with or without our permission, and the world cannot change it. Now, we know for a fact that the moon goes into a conjunction where it lines up perfectly with the sun. Every month it does this. Every month the moon is blackened out by the brightness of the sun. And it crosses over, the moon crosses over the sun, and then we start seeing light again. So it's like a clock. It hits midnight and goes click, and then we see the moon again. All right? Now, when we have the conjunction, we know that whether it's this day or that day is when the conjunction happens. And the conjunction happens sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the evening, sometimes in the middle of the night. Depending on where the conjunction hits is when the new moon is. And this is something, now if we go the dawn after the conjunction, that works 8 times a year. In 8 months, that you would be right on the money. But 4 months out of the year, you will be off with your phases. Now, the reason I say that is because of where that conjunction happened, whether it happened in the morning or in the evening or in the middle of the night. And then we have to deal with the Roman Catholic Gregorian Church, which they change dates on you at midnight. So it's not so much the date of when this conjunction happens, it's what time it happens. Okay? So there are times when there will be a second new moon day, but if you go the dawn after the conjunction, you'll be right 8 times out of the year. So what we always do is we use both signs. We use both signs, the conjunction and the sliver. Okay? We do our new moon day from the time of conjunction until we see the sliver. That's our new moon day. Whether it's 1 day or 2 days, we know once we see the sliver, the first day is over. Now, right after we see the sliver, the next day is a work day. All right? So that's sliver. This tells us the new moon is starting once it goes past the conjunction. This tells us that the new moon is over once we see the sliver. And the next day is our work day. Now, when that happens, we'll have a half a moon, 50% on the night of the 7th. All right? That tells us the next day is the 8th day, and it is Shabbat. All right? So now we have a sign that says tomorrow is Shabbat. We have a sign here that says the next day is a work day. All right? So here we have 50% at 7th day, and the 8th day is our Shabbat. And then on the 14th day, which we would actually do as Passover per se, or the night before Sukkot. So we have a full moon on the night of the 14th. That tells us the next day is the 15th and Shabbat. The same with the 21st, we see a 50%. And the next day is the 22nd, and it's a Shabbat. The next time we see the sliver on the 28th, and the 29th is our Shabbat. Now, the moon is only lit for 28 days. And if you mess it up here, your phases will be off. That's why there's times, 4 months out of the year, that you have an extra day or a 3-day weekend from Yahuwah. Okay, some people think, well, that's all screwed up and that's extra days and you can't have extra days. Well, they have no complaints when Babylon gives them a 3-day weekend or a 4-day weekend like Thanksgiving or half a week off for Christmas. No, they can phantom all that. But Yahuwah gives us a 3-day weekend 4 times a year. That's when we have a Shabbat, and then we have one new moon day or the second new moon day. Now, this cycle happens every month with or without our permission. And it's set up in 7-day increments. And this is just by accident or coincidence, mind you. Oh, well, I take that back. Yahuwah set it up so perfectly that these phases line up every 7 days for 4 weeks, which is a month, and every day for 28 days you will see the moon. Alright, now, I don't know, in the book of, we'll just go back to the book of Enoch for a minute. Now, this falls behind the sun. Now, the sun has its own ordinances, its own cycle, its own rotation. It does not go along with the moon. Now, the moon itself is strictly for the Moed. Okay, strictly for the Moedim. Alright? Now, if you do any Moedim without the moon, then you're off already. Now, the moon falls behind the sun 10 days a year. And the 3rd year, you add an extra month, which is the 13th month, or they call it Adar 2. Alright, and then the moon catches right back up to the sun. Now, I haven't even covered the portholes or anything to that effect, but this is the cycle of the moon, and it does not fail. It does this up there with or without our permission. So, no matter what we want to do, or what we have hanging on our wall, is inconsequential. This is Yahuwah's clock. This is Yahuwah's calendar. And this is when we go to the wilderness in the very near future, we're not going to bring our clock and we're not going to bring our Gregorian calendar with us. We have to know how to read when the Sabbath is and when the days and the months and when the seasons change, with or without the Gregorian calendar, which is most of the time wrong anyway. So, I just wanted to show you, this is the ordinances of the moon. This is how we keep our Shabbat. Alright, so now we have the cycle of the sun, which is totally separate from the cycle of the moon. The sun has its own business. The moon has its own business. The moon sets up the weeks and the Moedim and the Shabbats. The sun runs the day and the seasons. Now, I don't know how else to explain it, but it does this with or without our permission, and it continues to do it till heaven and earth pass away. Alright, so all we're doing here is explaining what's been going on in the heavens and the earth while we've been sleeping. Alright? Now, something else too is, if you work on New Moon Day, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. It says every New Moon Day and every Shabbat, the temple doors are open in the new heavens and the new earth, and you are to not work. It's a holy convocation. You must not work on New Moon Day. So if you have jobs, I'm sorry, you're breaking a commandment. I'm sorry. Alright, that's just your problem. I quit these 8 to 5 jobs so I could keep the new moon and keep my Sabbath. Now, this is very inconvenient in Babylon. But if you stay in Babylon, you may get busted. And so, the sooner you can get out of Babylon, the better off you are. Now, again, this is a basic design of what the moon does every month, with or without our permission. I want to thank you all for listening. I know it's a little, I hope it's not too rash, because I'm doing this in love. I just want everybody to know, because this isn't even the reason I brought this up. This is just so everybody can know what's going on. Dear, you can go ahead and shut it off now. I love you all. Thank you.